Everyone knows the old marketing slogan, Pepperidge Farm remembers. But based on some of the ingredients in their bread, it seems what they remembered is their chemistry set. Like all Food Club products, the old-fashioned 12-grain enriched bread promises to add flavor to life. As the name suggests, each slice combines a whopping 12 different grains, including sunflower seed kernels, whole wheat flour, wheat bran, barley flakes, and more, which you would expect means a healthy dose of fiber with every bite. Except it doesn't. In fact, there's barely any fiber at all. Each slice of old-fashioned 12-grain enriched bread contains just 1 gram of dietary fiber, which means that you could chow down 2 entire sandwiches and still have had just 16% of your daily recommended intake. All ingredients on store-bought foods are listed by quantity, and considering that the first ingredient mentioned is regular old, highly processed, enriched unbleached flour, which is stripped of fiber during the manufacturing process, it seems like those grains touted on the packet don't play an overly important role in the recipe.
When we're thinking we're buying whole grain products, we may not actually be getting whole grain products.
Beyond that, the bread contains not 1 but 4 sources of added sugar and is notably high in sodium at 190 milligrams per slice. Also, it features monoglycerides, which may contain unhealthy trans fats. Wonder Bread is soft, fluffy, and a childhood staple, but nobody today would consider it a health food. Back in the 1940s, it was a different story. In the face of widespread pellagra and beriberi outbreaks, conditions caused by a lack of niacin and thiamine, the brand started using flour fortified with various vitamins and minerals that was subsequently accredited with helping to eradicate both diseases.
Yes, kids, Wonder Bread helps build good, strong bones, sturdy muscles. And it helps give you plenty of energy, too.
Fast forward 80 years, and Wonder Bread's reputation isn't quite as wonderful as it was in the 20th century. It's low in fat, but Wonder Bread Classic White Sandwich Bread contains a long list of preservatives, flavor enhancers, and stabilizers, including iffy ingredients like datum and monoglycerides. While Wonder Bread likes to brag about containing as much calcium as an 8-ounce glass of milk, in light of its other downfalls, you may be better off downing the milk instead. Credit where it's due. Home Pride Buttertop Wheat Bread is relatively low in calories and fat, at 70 calories and 1 gram of unsaturated fat per slice. When you dive into its ingredients list, however, all it takes is 4 little words to undermine this loaf: high fructose corn syrup. The arch nemesis of dietitians everywhere, high fructose corn syrup has been linked to insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, and high blood pressure. Experts also say that it increases the amount of fat in our livers, potentially triggering non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. There's been a push to ban or more strictly regulate the sweetener in the past, but many brands continue to use it because it's significantly cheaper than regular sugar. Dragging the nutritional value of Home Pride Buttertop Wheat Bread down even further are multiple other unfavorable ingredients that all point towards a highly processed product, such as enriched wheat flour and monoglycerides. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that because Pepperidge Farm has the word farm in its name, its products are full of homegrown, wholesome ingredients. Unfortunately, this isn't quite true of its Hearty white bread, which is high in sodium. And we mean extremely high in sodium. A single slice contains 230 milligrams, which is 10% of your daily recommended sodium intake. Scanning its ingredient list, there are a few that set off alarms. Datum, also known as diacetyl tartaric, acid esters of mono, and diglycerides, is a dough conditioner. It has been approved by the FDA, but a study by Utrecht University on rats found that datum contributes to heart muscle fibrosis and adrenal overgrowth, as well as being linked to leaky gut syndrome. Plus, despite not being a particularly sweet bread, each slice contains 4 grams of sugar, while adding only 1 gram of fiber. You'd think they'd remember how important fiber is. Potato bread tends to contain similar amounts of calories and protein to standard white bread, but is usually far richer in fiber. That's not the case with Martin's potato bread, though, which contains just 1 gram of dietary fiber per slice. There's a simple explanation as to why Martin's isn't packed with fiber. Its bread uses reconstituted potatoes, which can lack the nutritional value of regular potatoes. It does get bonus points for its relatively low sodium levels at 105 milligrams per slice, and the fact it contains 0 cholesterol. However, it's let down by also containing datum and 3 grams of sugar, not to mention a buttload of other processed additives that sound more suited to a science lab than a loaf of bread. Any bread with the word sweet in its name promises a pretty sugary experience. True to its word, King's Original Hawaiian Sweet Sliced Bread contains both sugar and liquid sugar, contributing 6 grams of added sugar per piece. Delicious though that may make any sandwich made using this bread, it also means that you'll be halfway through your daily recommended added sugar allowance before you even add the fillings. Yikes. What makes this bread even more disappointing is the amount of fiber, as there's basically no fiber in each serving, just 0.5 grams. For context, you get more fiber from a packet of Reese's peanut butter cups than 2 slices of King's Original Hawaiian Sweet Sliced Bread. Each slice is also pretty caloric at 120 calories per slice, so you'd be better off thinking of this bread as a dessert than a daily staple. Pepperidge Farm's Raisin Cinnamon Swirl bread isn't designed as a savory bread, but as a sweet treat or breakfast item, and it shows in the nutritional information. True, a slice of Pepperidge Farm Raisin Cinnamon Swirl bread contains just 100 calories and is free of high fructose corn syrup, but it's surprisingly high in sugar, even for bread of this kind. One slice contains 9 grams of sugar, 5 of which are added sugars. That means 27% of its total weight is made up of sugar, and that 2 slices would equal about half the amount of sugar you're meant to eat in a single day. And that sugar intake is not offset by fiber, as you get only 1 gram of dietary fiber in each slice. Multigrain bread is a popular choice among nutritionists, who praise its protein and fiber levels and its ability to improve gut health. However, bread can only reap these benefits if its main ingredients are whole grains, which is absolutely not the case with Country Hearth multigrain bread. The first ingredient mentioned on each loaf is enriched unbleached flour. Yep, the same flour used for standard white bread. While its fiber content is at least passable at 2 grams per slice, there aren't really many redeeming features for the Country Hearth multigrain bread. It contains light brown sugar, molasses, raisin juice concentrate, and honey, giving each slice a total of 3 grams of added sugar, and it's packed with additives and preservatives. That includes calcium propionate, a salt that's used to extend the lifespan of baked goods and is generally recognized as safe by the FDA, though a Harvard study found that it can increase blood glucose and potentially increase the risk of diabetes. Thomas's Breads touts its cinnamon raisin swirl bread as its most popular flavor, and we're not surprised. Everything about this bread screams indulgence. From the swirls of luxurious cinnamon to heaps of juicy raisins. Unlike a lot of baked goods, this indulgence doesn't translate to high fat content. It does, however, give it a pretty hefty amount of sugar at 6 grams per slice. If you're looking for nutritional value, there's not much to be found here. Each slice contains next to no dietary fiber, at less than 1 gram a slice, and the majority of its ingredient list is made up of the typical hallmarks of highly processed foods, such as monoglycerides, calcium propionate, soy lecithin, and datum. While it's fine to grab a slice of this as a sweet treat once in a while, this definitely isn't the kind of bread you want to be reaching for if you're after a healthy snack. By its very nature, fluffy, buttery Texas toast is going to have iffier nutritional stats per serving than most breads, as it's sliced at twice the usual thickness. Sara Lee Texas toast still earns a special shout-out though, for its sodium content. A single slice of this bread contains 200 milligrams of sodium, or roughly 9% of your daily recommended intake. As is often the case with unhealthy bread, this is paired with a confusing lack of fiber. In fact, each slice has less than 1 gram of fiber, which isn't just low but borderline non-existent. Its main ingredient is the usual culprit in white bread, our old friend enriched wheat flour, which means it's not offering too much in terms of nutritional value. It also contains calcium propionate, which, as we've seen, isn't the healthiest preservative thanks to its potential impact on blood glucose. The Pepperidge Farm Farmhouse potato bread does contain potatoes, even if they are dehydrated, as well potato flour, but neither is the major ingredient. Instead, it's the repeat offender of enriched wheat flour that crops up first in the ingredient list, meaning all the bran and germ leaves were sifted out, and very little dietary fiber remains. That becomes pretty evident once you look at the nutritional information. You'll only find 1 gram of fiber per slice here. In place of fiber, you'll find 4 grams of added sugar in Pepperidge Farm Farmhouse potato bread, and a significant amount of sodium at 190 milligrams. Put into context, That means that a sandwich made with this bread is going to count as 16% of both your daily recommended sugar and sodium intake. Tasty though it may be, there are definitely healthier potato breads out there, and it's surprisingly easy to make your own at home.
Potatoes. Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew.
Just like King's Hawaiian Sweet Sliced Bread, the King's original Hawaiian sweet rolls take inspiration from classic Portuguese sweetbread, which means they're practically defined by sugar. That means that the high sugar content of these soft, buttery rolls shouldn't come as too much of a surprise. However, in other nutritional aspects, the rolls actually perform even worse in ways that you wouldn't have believed possible. While the company's sliced bread contains a measly 0.5 grams of fiber per slice, a King's original Hawaiian sweet roll offers a grand total of 0 grams. They're light in the sodium department at 70 milligrams a roll, which is a plus, but half of each roll's fat content comes from saturated fat. You'll also find a lengthy list of scientific-sounding additives in the ingredients list, such as ammonium sulfate, sorbitan monostearate, and myocrystalline cellulose, all of which are surefire indicators that a product has been highly processed. Everything about Oroweat Grain's Almighty Gut Balance Bread sounds so promising. According to the Oroweat website, it's baked with gut-fortifying prebiotics that feed the friendly bacteria in your stomach, and whole grains such as flax and barley. That means it's solid on the fiber front at 7 grams per serving, which in this case is 2 slices. It's also surprisingly high in protein, with 7 grams per serving, and is free of high fructose corn syrup and artificial colors, preservatives, and flavors. Where it disappoints slightly is the sodium content. A serving of Oroweat Grain's Almighty Gut Balance Bread contains 310 milligrams, which is 13% of the amount of sodium you're supposed to eat in an entire day. A serving also contains 4 grams of sugar from 3 different sources: sugar, honey, and molasses. There's a significant amount of fat too, with 3.5 grams coming from soybean and palm oils.